That intro video is still excellent, isn't it? Hello, Oliver here. I'm playing Thrive for the first time in quite a while. I looked at my YouTube channel and noticed that the last video I'd made on this was like a year and a half ago, so here I am. I'm playing Thrive 0.6.5, which was released as a new version a couple of days ago. So I'm going to be showing off some of the new stuff that's in this latest version and some of the versions I've missed in the meantime. And I've also included a setup guide for anyone who would like to build this game from the source code, because as we're all keen to remind everyone, this game is open source, so you can join the development team or contribute in some other way. So yeah, it's something I've been sporadically involved with for many years, contributing here and there. First it was music, and lately it's more been on the programming side. But yeah, always welcome to have people join the team. As for what Thrive as a game is, I have a video about it that I'll hopefully put some graphics on screen right now, some flashy animations to show. So go watch that if you want a longer introduction. The short version is that it is a game about the evolution of life. And most of that at the moment is being a cell. So yeah, you are a cell, the environment is full of cells. You build a cell that can process nutrients from the environments in certain ways, attack enemies, flee from predators, etc. There are prototypes for some other stages, such as the multicellular stage and so on, but I'm not going to be focusing on those today. But yeah, I think that's the introduction done. Let's get started, shall we? I'm just going to click New Game. So I'm going to be playing with Lork off, Lork being life as we know it. There's the description there. Life origin, I'm going to set to warm little pond because it's winter right now and we could all really do with some sunlight. And then if I go into advanced options here, you'll see a few things that may be unfamiliar to you if you've played Thrive in the recent past. So one of those options here is Fog of War mode. Now the Fog of War is one of the major features of this new update. It applies to the patch map, which for anyone unfamiliar is the map of the world that you as a cell will explore. So in previous versions, every single patch in the patch map was revealed to you immediately at the start of the game. Now you kind of have to explore them as you go on. You can turn it off if you want to from this setting in the new game settings, so you can set it disabled. You can have the regular version or the intense version. The difference between those, the regular version, you can see the patches that connect to the current patch you're in. Intense version, you can see them, but you don't have any details on them. So you'll only know what's in the patch after you've actually moved to the patch. So yeah, that's a bit of a harder difficulty to it. The other option here that is new is this one down here, Organelle Unlocks. So again, in previous versions, every organelle in the game, organelles being parts that you can add to your cell, they were, well, with the exception of those that were locked behind having a nucleus, they were all available from the beginning of the game, so there was no real progression system in there. Whereas now, with this latest update, a load of them have certain criteria you have to hit to actually be able to add them to your cell. So that's quite cool. It adds a bit more, I don't want to use the word gamification, but it adds a bit more of a direction that you need to go in to actually develop your cell in the way you want it. And if you don't like it, you can just turn it off from here, but I'm going to have it on because I'm showing it off. Anything else I want to modify? I won't modify anything else for the difficulty. Planet, I will enable the day-night cycle just because it's cool, and it's sad that it's still not enabled by default at this stage. And miscellaneous I'll leave as it is. So let's start the game, shall we? So yeah, for people unfamiliar, this is the world of Thrive. That's, if I can zoom in again, that is me, that's my cell, spin. And yeah, he spins to face the cursor and moves towards the cursor. So look, there's a load more of my species swimming through the world. So this here is a cloud of compounds. It is specifically the compound phosphate. Phosphate and ammonia are two compounds you need to collect to build the stuff that goes into your next generation. So you can see these meters are gradually filling up because you generate them passively over the course of time. And I'm taking so long with this intro that it's actually turning dark before I actually finish. So yeah, this is the day-night cycle in action. If you've not seen it before, yeah, it's now getting down into dusk, and now it's night. And I need to find some glucose. Glucose being the thing that will generate ATP for me. ATP is this green bar here. That's the energy. So yeah, I'll grab some ammonia and phosphate along the way. Out of this. Whoop. And over here. Whoop. Bash into an iron rock, because why not? Loads of cells. Actually, I'll take this opportunity where a lot is going on to explain that the version before this, Thrive 0.6.4, the focus of that was a significant refactor of everything in the game to extract a load more performance from it. Because I know that one of the, probably the most common complaint we had from players was that the game performance was not great. For some people from the start of the game, some people got worse performance later on. There we go. I've duplicated all of my stuff so I can enter the editor if I want to, but I'll keep speaking because screw you. So yeah, as of the update before this, performance is much better, and some stuff in this update, 0.6.5, has also been contributing towards improvements in performance. So hopefully you'll see a load more cells on the screen because, you know, the computer can now afford to render a load more cells, and it's going to be a bit more of a vibrant world. So I will enter the editor and show you some of the new stuff. So here we are in the tide pool. There's me, Primum Thrivium. If I go to the patch map, so again, for people unfamiliar, this is the map of the world. Basically, I'm in this place here. I'm in the tide pool. It's connected to a few more bits in this region. So there's the coast, there's an estuary, but then there's also now these mystery patches. So I can't actually see what the attributes of these patches are yet because I'm not in a patch that connects to them. If, say, I were to move to this one, as you can see, it highlights the connections there. So if I were to move to this one, I would then know what's in each of these patches. So it adds, if there's a particular patch you're trying to get to, it adds a layer of, directed exploration in there. You know, I might want to get to the volcanic vents from where I am, and before I could just see, oh yeah, it's right over there and go straight there. But now you kind of have to explore a bit, which is nice. I'm going to stay here. Where am I going to stay here? No, I'm going to move to this patch because there's another species here. Oh yeah, that's a new thing. Now, if you hover over species names in the patch map, you can see what they actually have, their organelle layout and so forth. So yeah, now that I've moved to this patch, I will be mingling with the species Chusia itimstia. It's fine. It's a fake name. There's no right or wrong pronunciation. It's fine. So yeah, as you can see, it's got a few blobs of cytoplasm, some chemosynthesizing proteins, and rusticinin. So it must eat iron and hydrogen sulfide, even though there's no hydrogen sulfide in this patch. But yeah. And you can see now that I'm in this patch, it's revealed that the connected patches were this one, and it's also revealed a load of secondary connected patches that are, for the moment, hidden, but can become unhidden if I reach them, or reach an adjacent region. So yeah, that's all the changes to the patch map. If I go into the editor, you'll see this big new icon above certain organelles. That means that I have met the criteria for unlocking them. So in this case, the thylakoid, although it doesn't actually tell me right now, the criteria for unlocking it was to be in a patch with, I think, at least 20% sunlight at noon. So if I go back to patch map, this one has, 100% at noon. So yeah, that's hence I have unlocked the thylakoid, which is neat. We can also see there's some undiscovered ones down here. So we have, for instance, nitrogenase unlocked when ammonia matches a thing, oxytoxosomes unlocked when 5 microbes are engulfed. That is eating for for those of you not familiar with microbial terminology. And thermosynthase unlocked when the temperature in a patch is more than 50 degrees Celsius. There's a few other ones down here that are undiscovered. So flagellum, there's some criteria for that, and a pilus, and then a few more down here. A load more criteria of their own, but I'm not going to be anywhere near getting any of those, am I? So what was in this patch? This patch has sunlight, a load of iron. Maybe I'll add some iron. Yes, I will add rustocyanin. Can I afford a chemoreceptor? Yes, I can. Okay, yeah, looking at this ATP balance bar down here. So this top bar is the ATP you are producing. That's energy, basically. And this bottom bar is the ATP you are consuming. So right now I am producing more than I'm consuming through osmoregulation. That's just the act of staying alive. And base movement. So I will survive is the shortened version of that. So there we go. We have some. We have the ability to eat iron, and therefore I'm going to modify this chemoreceptor to go and find some iron. Set a large third radius, not 0, but a small minimum amount to detect. Let's randomize this a bit, shall we? Scioleropsis vermanium. Wonderful. Now if I go here, I'm going to change. I'm going to be yellow. I'm going to be a yellow iron-eating microbe. And then my behavior, I'm going to be pretty peaceful, but opportunistic. Kind of in the middle of brave and fearful. Same, maybe more sessile. I'm imagining these guys were like crowd round iron rocks. I'm going to be pretty focused as well. So yeah, that's all the edits I'm going to make this generation. Let us go back into the world. Oh, and I'm immediately losing health because I have no iron. That was silly of me. Right, I need to race to the iron. Luckily, I have a chemoreceptor that tells me where the iron is. Oh, the tension is killing me. Come on, I can make it. I can make it. No. I don't think I can make it. I think I'm going to die. Oh, I died. But that went well. I swear I'm good at this game. It's fine. It's not over. I can just... so I've become extinct in my current patch because I'd only just arrived there, and that arrival has failed spectacularly. So I still have the option to return to the previous patch, which I will do. And luckily I spawned with a load of iron. Convenient. So there's more of my blobs of my species, and finally I find an iron chunk. So let's go and gobble up some of this. Nom 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 nom. It's becoming dark again. Oh look, they're all swarming around the iron chunk. That's I don't know, I find that quite cute, the way they just all swarm around it. And there's also some environmental pressures happening, right? Because the ones that are close enough to the iron chunk, they get to eat iron and then they get to survive. But those that are far away, they're not getting access to the iron and they're dying. So, you know, we've got some simulation of, the limits on growth in this patch. There's a load of cells all flitting this way and that. I'm going to go over here. I'm full of iron, so I'm going to grab some ammonia and phosphate to speed up these. I think I said, but these are advancing gradually, passively on their own anyway. But you can speed them up by collecting more ammonia and phosphate. So it's still a bit of an incentive. And you can see these bars are occasionally filling up. That's because, well, in that case, I had an excess of phosphate and not enough ammonia to match it. So the next organelle that the cell was going to duplicate had all of its phosphate, but not all of its ammonia. So that's why there was phosphate building up. And then once the ammonia built up to match it, then it was all great. And it duplicated the organelle. Then I find it quite a pretty game, really, especially with loads of cells on screen, which you can now have with the performance improvements. Ta-da! So there we go. I have got enough to enter the editor again, so I will do. And there's a new species in this patch. Ooh. What does it look like? It looks like that. Oh, it's got 2 chemoreceptors. Wow. Funky. Oh, yeah, one thing I haven't shown, if I hover over, which is a good one to hover, let's do thylakoids. You'll notice there's a message at the bottom of this tooltip that says press F1 to view more info in the Thrivopedia. So if I hover over and press F1, we'll see it opens this big, interesting display full of interesting information about this organelle. And this is the Thrivopedia. This is in a way kind of my baby. I have been responsible for much of the drive to work on this. And this content about the organelles in particular is taken from our wiki, our development wiki. Not real time, not at runtime, but at build time. Before we release a new version, there's a script that runs that we've written that can update the content in the game with any content from the wiki. So if you are someone who likes writing wiki pages, we would love you on the team, because you can help to add wikis for organelles or some other things in future once those are implemented, or you can come along and update the ones we currently have. So these are some of the pages. That's just an intro page for the wiki content of the Thrivopedia. I can look at the organelles, and then a big, massive blob of all the organelles, and I can, slime jet. There we are. I see information about the slime jet, and it links. It says in contrast to the flagellum. What's the flagellum? I click on the flagellum, and I go to the page for the flagellum. So it's basically a browser inside the game, which is quite cool. And then there's a link up here to view the wiki online as well, if you want to go and see a version with proper accessibility and stuff. So you can see there's loads of bits and pieces in here, all of the stats about the organelle, its process information, information on its effects. So a lot of this is to help kind of make things clearer to the player. The strategy in particular, I've found, is something that we've not really focused on so much in providing strategy information to the players. So with this, we're saying, okay, this is how we recommend using this. This is how it's beneficial. These are some of the pitfalls you might encounter with using this organelle, and so on. I find that quite useful. That's not everything that's in the Thrivopedia. So there's the homepage. There's the museum. I like the museum. So what you can do, as I'll show you in a moment, you can pause the game, and then when the game is paused, you can select species in the environment and fossilize them. And once they're fossilized, they enter this collection here of fossilized species. So you can see there's loads of them here. They're just all the ones from lots of different versions of the game. And then you can see all their stats. You can remember them and love them and care for them in your museum. And then if I wanted to, I could play with this version, with this particular cell in free build, but I'm not going to right now. And then there's also information about the current world. So these are all the settings I set at the beginning of the game. The patch map is here as well, as well as in the editor. So I can see this. I can see which species inhabit where. Blah, blah. You've all seen that now. And then the evolutionary tree is very cool. So this shows you how evolution has progressed in your world. So you can see this is me along the top. This one has split off from me. That's why it's got a chemoreceptor, because it inherited mine. Whereas this one split off earlier, and it's now split in two here. Some very long boys. This, as you can imagine, can get quite big and quite complicated. But it's very cool, so I like it. And that was the Thrivopedia. So hope the intention with that is to be an information store for the player to help them understand more about how the game works, and really give them a bit of a leg up, because I know a lot of, alongside complaints about the performance, one of the other consistent themes in feedback has been how complicated the game appears to be. I don't actually believe it's that complicated a game. You can learn the basic strategies pretty quickly, I think, but you do need to be made aware of them. So that's why the Thriveopedia is there, and why there's loads of information available to help you along the way. Right. Yeah, I should be editing my species, shouldn't I? What is available? I like a slime jet. I'm not currently producing any glucose though, so that's going to be I'm going to have to find it in the environment, because glucose becomes mucilage. I still haven't got that pronunciation right. I can slap that down there, and then I will produce slime to propel me through the world. It does make my ATP production too low, so I need to offset that. And I don't have enough mutation points. Oh no, I can add a cytoplasm. Is that going to be enough? Just. Although, no, there's no way around that, is there? Slime jet's just too expensive. Oh well, I'll just focus on building up my ATP production for now then. So yes, I'll add a couple more rusticyanum. I'm back into the world full of amazing creatures going everywhere. They're eating all of the iron, so I need to be very careful to get my fair share of the iron. Are we going to see any of the other species that sit in this patch now? Let's find out. Ah, there they are. Some interesting purple things. So what, if I pause the game now with the spacebar, you'll notice these buttons appear. If I press on that one, I can see information about this species, all of its stats, and then I can fossilize it to add it to the museum. And then if I open the Thriveopedia, go to museum, scroll down, ta-da, there it is. Melis Texaf K. Okay. Yes, that's fossilization. That's been in for a while now. It's a cool feature. I'm hoping that at some point we can extend it to allowing you to build a custom ecosystem full of species that you've fossilized, because that would be quite cool, I guess, for testing. Testing auto evo purposes, really, to try and figure out what the optimal version of an ecosystem is for gameplay purposes. God, these are all. They're all crowding around the iron chunk and hogging the iron, aren't they? I'm going to get my own iron chunk with blackjack and hookers. God, there's so many of me. Oh, there's more of the purple ones. Over there. We're just living in harmony right now. None of us can attack. There we are. I am a big boy. I will go to the editor and I'll try and add that slime jet I wasn't able to earlier. There we are. Now I can propel myself forward, providing I find some glucose to produce mucilage. And I have, excellent ATP balance. Is there any... I kind of want to change my membrane, but I don't have enough mutation points. I'll go with that. So I can be a bit wobblier. Aha, I can collect this glucose. And now, if I press, once that glucose converts to mucilage, I can now press R to zoom forward, which is very fun. Can I engulf this before it disappears? Yes, there we are. So, ingested matter, okay, that didn't take long. I was going to show off the new feature, but it disappeared too fast to do that. Oh well. Can I do it with this one? All right, there's a button H here. I can press that to eject ingested matter. There we are. It just went out the back of me there. So that's another new addition for this release. It's quite a useful feature. If, for instance, you've ingested a cell that is poisonous, you can now get rid of it instead of dying from poison. Oh, this guy's about to die. Aha! It's probably dying because it's nighttime and this one has some thylakoids. So he's relying on sunlight, and there is no sunlight right now. So I just have to be patient. Oh, duplicated before dying. Even more orchideals to gobble up then. Nope. I'm just gonna... I'm really running out of iron here. Get out of the way. Out of the way. There we are. Oh, it's like Piccadilly Circus around here. So yeah, I'm going to stop this there. I've shown off some of the major new features. I've shown how well the game runs now with so many cells on screen, which is nice. But yeah, I'll leave the rest of the organelle upgrades and the patch map exploring up to the rest of you. So yeah, Thrive, I should have said this at the beginning, but you can get it for free if you download the launcher, or if you want to support development, you can purchase the game on Steam. There's also Patreon if you want to go that route. And yeah, if you want to contribute to development in some way, if you have game development skills of some flavour, always looking for new people on the team, so there's an application form that you can fill out. Or if you just want to create a pull request on our GitHub, you can do that. And yeah, I will now switch over to me in the near future, who will explain how you can actually build a game if you wish to contribute to the programming. So take it away, me. Thanks, me from the past. I'm here in a VM that I have spooled up, and I'm using a VM because I want to show you how to build Thrive from a completely blank slate. So I'm going to be showing you from beginning to end how to actually get Thrive running on your machine from source code. And I'm also going to show you how to implement a very simple feature, just to kind of show you the tip of the iceberg in terms of the code base and how development practices for Thrive work. As you can tell, this is a Windows VM, so I will show you how to set it up for Windows. If you use Linux, or I believe Mac works as well, then check out the link to the full setup instructions in the description. Those also include tips for troubleshooting and some alternative tools you can use at various stages. So in terms of IDEs, I'm going to be showing you how to set up the IDEs and development tools that I use when I work on Thrive. There are alternatives available. Maybe you have a preference for an alternative. So yeah, I will flag those up when we get to them. But yeah, you can use alternatives, and there may be instructions for some of those alternatives in the description as well, if you go and look at the full setup instructions. Right, I believe that's the preamble out the way, so let's get started, shall we? As you can tell, I have all of the tabs open for all the things we're going to download, because I'm prepared. Right, the first thing we need to download is Godot, Godot being the engine that Thrive is built with. If you go to the main Godot download page, I think you can only download Godot 4 currently. Thrive in its current state does not support Godot 4. It uses Godot version 3.5. However, it should be noted that Thrive 0.6.6, so the next version, is intended to support Godot 4, now that some of the bugs with that have been ironed out. So yeah, this video may become a bit outdated when the next version is released, but just check the latest version of the setup instructions linked in the description if you are watching this from the future. Right, yeah, so this is the archive for Godot releases, so we need to go to version 3.5 because that's the version that Thrive requires. And very important here, you need to make sure you go to the mono folder. When I first set up Thrive, I did not go to the mono folder and things went wrong. We need to use the mono version of Godot here. So I go to mono there, and then select the version of Godot that applies to your operating system. So in our case, it's Windows 64-bit. So I will wait for that to download. And now that that's downloaded, I will go and look in the downloads, and we'll find the folder there. So I'm going to extract that here. And with that extracted, we can go and look at a folder and see this is the Godot executable. So this is the actual file that you need to run to start up Godot. So I'm just going to run that now just to check that everything is all good on the system and it's been installed properly. And yep, as you can see, Godot is running. So I'll close that down for now. Yeah, just verified that worked. So that's the engine. The next thing we need is the version control system, which we use Git for. So again, I'll get the 64-bit Windows version of that. Right, now I've got the setup for that downloaded. I'll run it, run the installer. So in this setup here, I'm just going to be using the defaults. Most of these, you can probably change them if you would prefer it. The one thing that you absolutely have to have checked is this Git large file support. So this is what we use for some of the assets in the code base, such as images or videos that are too large to be stored, I guess the classical way. So yeah, as long as you've got that ticked, everything else doesn't really matter too much. You can change which text editor Git will use. I'm just going to leave everything as default and then run install. And there we are, that's installed successfully. So I'm going to launch Git bash now. And then I need to run the following command, git lfs install. So lfs, again, is the large file support I mentioned before. So just running this ensures that it's all set up properly, and we'll be able to check out the files, including large files such as videos and whatnot, correctly when we get to that stage. One other command that you can run if you wish to use or wish to push changes when you're working on them is the following. So what this will do, this changes the line endings to be Windows on this actual system, but changes them to Linux style line endings when they're actually pushed to the remote repo. Right, so that's Git set up. I will close Git bash again for now. Next thing we need to do is the actual language that Thrive is built with, which is C#. And for C#, we need to download .NET, specifically version .NET 8.0 at the time of recording. So I'll go and download that. And with that downloaded, I will once again run the installer. So just wait for that to load. There we are, just click install there. And there we are, .NET 8.0 has been installed, and just to verify that, I will reopen Git bash, if it lets me, and I will run the following command. Note, if you had Git bash open, you're going to have to close it and reopen it here, just so that it recognizes that the .NET command has been added to the path. So if you run .NET list SDKs, we can see that 8.0 is installed as we want it to be. So yeah, that's excellent. Next, we move on to the IDE. Now for me, I use Visual Studio Code when I'm working on Thrive. So as I said, alternatives are available. You may wish to use Visual Studio or Rider if you're on Linux, or any other IDE. There are probably loads more out there. So what I'm going to do, I will download the latest version of this for Windows. And then I will run the setup for this as well. So just wait a second for that to load. There we are. And again, I'm just going to accept all of the defaults for this. You might want to customize it. And then I will install Visual Studio Code. And there we are. And for now, I'm not going to launch this. So I'll uncheck that box. Just because there's a bit more configuration that we want to do first, download a few more things, and then, yeah, we'll open the code base in that once we have it set up and everything. So if you're using VS Code, it does not come packaged with some of the build tools that are required to actually build this particular C# project. So we need to go to the Visual Studio download page and download not Visual Studio, but the Visual Studio build tools. So if I search for those there, and then Build Tools Visual Studio, download those. And that was a very quick download because it's just downloading the installer for now. So if I run the installer, And this opens, and yeah, you'll see some weird graphics stuff going on here. I did a test run of this a couple of days ago in this VM, and it all worked eventually, but there are a few hiccups I came across due to running it inside the VM, and I will note those as we come to them. So yeah, those are things that you hopefully won't have to do anything about, but I had to run some things to actually sort out. But yeah, this is one of them. I think that there's something weird about the graphics going on with this particular Visual Studio installer. It's quite entertaining. But yeah, hopefully yours will actually look correct. I mean, as far as I can tell, it works correctly. It just looks a bit, I don't know, chaotic. So there we go. We have this with more graphics, graphics chaos. So we need to install particular build tools from here. If you are just working with Thrive in the most basic configuration, we don't actually have to tick any of these boxes here. We just need to verify that MS Build Tools is available in the right-hand pane, which right now I cannot do because it's being obscured by all of these graphics weirdnesses. But if I click on that, there we go. It's corrected itself, and MS Build Tools is there on the right. So then I can just press install, and it will install those. So there we go. We can leave the haunted Visual Studio installer, lock it back in its box, never talk of it again. Right, and then the next thing we need is the .NET Framework Developer Pack. So I'll get that from here. And then once again, I will run the setup for this now that it has been downloaded. And there we go, that's now set up. Right, so those are all the essential tools that we need for working on Thrive. There is one semi-essential one that we need to get. So if you are working on anything to do with translations, you need the get text tool. So that's from this address here. So as I'm going to be showing you something where we're actually adding some stuff to the UI, that will of course require text, which requires translations. So I will show you that part as well. So the version we need is again 64-bit. It's the latest version 0.21. I'm going to get the shared one here. So get the download for that. Download it quickly, run the setup. Accept the agreement, accept the defaults. So the main thing you need is to make sure that this checkbox is checked so that it's added to the path. So that is looking correct there, and I will install it. That finished very quickly, so that's nice. Right, so that's all the tools that we need for working with Thrive downloaded. The only thing that's left to get really is the code itself. Can't have much of a game without the code. So to get that, go to the Thrive repo, this place. And there are various ways to clone things, but the way that's probably the simplest, go to the code button here, and then copy this to the clipboard. And then I'm going to close Git Bash from here and actually open it in the location where we want to store the code. So that's going to be in the documents on here. So I'll open Git Bash and then do Git clone. And now, very important, you need to include the recursive keyword because the Thrive repo has a couple of submodules included with it. And without this recursive keyword, it will not clone those submodules as well. So yeah, make sure you include that. And then paste in the link that we just copied. And run that to actually clone the code into the local repo. And that's going to take a while, so... All right, so yeah, we have cloned Thrive source code now. You can see it's in this Thrive folder here. And just to check that everything has worked properly, I'm going to look in the assets and then look at the texture and open one of these PNG files. So let's look at the agent factual texture here. So once that loads, and yep, you'll see that this actually has file content. If this was like tiny or it was corrupted in some way, then the large file support would not have worked. So yeah, by the fact this is actually a full image, we can verify that everything there has worked, and we have the Thrive code checked out correctly. So, well, yeah, correctly for you. I'm going to navigate here into the Thrive folder. One thing I found out, so when I did the test run for this a couple of days ago, everything worked from this point on. When I tried this a test run again just now, I ran into an issue because since I did the previous test run, there's been a change made to the repo such that certain CPU architectures will not work. Thrive will not run with those. I believe it's AVX2 instructions. You need to have those available. And this VM apparently does not have AVX2 instructions available, even though my actual machine does. So rather than figure out how to sort out that configuration nightmare, I have decided to take the coward's way out and just check out the state of the repo as it was before that change was made. So I'm going to git checkout, and then the commit ID, or the commit hash I'm going to use is that one. And then also, I guess this is a teaching moment here. Anytime you check out something, I would recommend running git submodule update -- recursive, and this is going to check out the submodules that are inside the Thrive repo to the appropriate commits for the particular commits you're looking at for the Thrive repo as a whole. So failing to do that can leave you with like weird artifacts inside these submodules. If you go to like push some changes to a pull request, it will add extra changes to those files. So yeah, I would just recommend running this command after any time you check out something. So check out a branch or another commit or whatever. So there we go. We have the correct version of the source code checked out. The next stage, I'm going to go back to my downloads, back to the Godot folder, and I'm going to run Godot again. We need to actually import Thrive, the Thrive project, into Godot. So I will browse into the Thrive folder and find the project.godot file. Open that and press import. So this is going to take quite a while. I timed this on the test run earlier, and it took about 8 minutes. So just leave it. It will look like it's frozen. It will look like it's dead. But yeah, just wait for quite some time, and eventually it will import everything. And I will show you the state it's supposed to be in once it's imported when we get there. So see you in about 8 minutes' time. All right, so yeah, that took a while. The reason it takes a while is it's Godot importing all of the Thrive assets, some of which are quite large, especially I think the backgrounds and textures for the 3D backgrounds in the main menu are the largest parts of that. But here we are. So if you end up with a screen that looks something like this, with the actual main menu stuff shown here, then everything was imported successfully. So that's nice. So what else do we need to do? Well, first, what I'm going to do is go to Editor Settings up here and scroll down to the Mono section. And then in Editor, select the IDE that I'm using, which in this case is a Visual Studio Code. And in Builds, just verify that this is using the .NET CLI. So it is actually going to use the .NET that we have installed. The other thing we need to change in the settings here is that if we go to Text Editor and then Indent and then Type, we need to change that to spaces. Otherwise, Godot will go and change all of the tabs, all of the spaces that we've used for tabs in the code base into actual tabs, which is not, that's not in line with the code style in the repo. So yeah, if we change it to spaces, it will not mess with that. So that's good. So there we go. You close that. Yes, so the next thing what I'm going to do, so in terms of like the C# side of things, we have everything set up now, but as of a couple of releases ago, Thrive includes a load of native libraries. Those were included to increase performance in particular, and also add a few extra features on the native side. So what we need to do is make sure we're in the Thrive folder and then run the following command. So .NET project, .NET run -- project, and then scripts, and native fetch install. So this is not actually going to build the native side of things locally. This is going to fetch the native libraries, or at least the versions of the native libraries applicable to this state of the code base from the remote server. So if I run that, it should download those in a minute. You can build these yourself, but they require extra build tools, which I think most people working on Thrive probably won't interact with. So yeah, I've decided not to include that in this setup guide. But again, instructions for those are in the full setup instructions document in the description. So there we go. The script has fetched and installed the appropriate versions of the native libraries. So that's nice. So we should have everything available now to actually run Thrive for the first time. So what I'm going to do is if I press play in the Godot editor from up there, wait a second. So this is actually going to build the C# side of things now. So it might also take a minute. Oh, there we are. And the intro video is playing. I'm just going to skip past that. And here we are, the main menu. You will notice the background is not working. This and a few other things. I'm just going to close this so I don't have these music blowing over me. Yes, I will allow access here. So yeah, the background and the actual environment, as you'll see in a moment, are not showing up in this VM because it does not have the appropriate graphics to actually render those parts. Again, you should actually see a background or a game in progress once you get to those points. If you don't, then yeah, the reason is probably that you have your hardware is too outdated. We can see here that I've got some errors in my console related to, I think, OpenGL probably. Yeah, whatever that means. But I assume those are related to the fact that this VM does not have the graphics capabilities to run the actual graphically intensive parts. But as I said, we're going to be adding stuff to the UI, so we don't need to worry about that. The UI seems to run fine here, so we're all good there. Right, so yeah, that is everything set up, really. I guess there's one extra bit left to go if you are using Visual Studio Code. And that's to install a couple of extensions to help you with the development experience when you're working on Thrive. So if I just open this and wait for it to start up, then go to the Extensions tab, and we recommend the following if you're using VS Code. So C#, just get, yeah, this one that's literally just called C# from Microsoft. So install that one. There we go. And then there are two more, I think are a bit quicker. So one of them is Mono Debug. So this, yeah, relates to the mono version of Godot that we use. So there we go, that's already done. And the last one, C# tools for Godot. So this, yeah, adds a debugger if you want to debug Thrive as it's running in Godot. So I will install that. And there we are. Yeah, so that is pretty much everything you need to actually get started working on Thrive. Well, yeah, the last thing you need to do is actually open the code base. I guess, yeah, I will restart VS Code just to make sure it gets all of the configuration properly. But if I restart that, then go to open folder, and then find the folder where I've checked things out. So that's this Thrive folder here. Select folder. Yes, I trust the authors, because I'm at least one of them. There we go. And you will immediately see there's a load of changed files. That's because Godot sometimes likes to change files if it's running locally. What I do with, I to avoid actually pushing any of those to the remote repo, what you can do is just discard all the changes here. It will, make changes to some of them again. That's just the way that it is. So if I go back in here and then press reload, and then go back into VS Code, you may, once things catch up with each other, you may see a few of them appear here again. So yeah, I would just recommend reverting the changes on those particular files each time. There we go. There's the project.godot has changed. And if you look at the file content, nothing's actually changed. I think it's just encoding or a line ending that it's changed. So yeah, before you actually push anything to the remote, just on the particular files that Godot has changed without actually changing anything, just press this discard changes button, and that will get rid of them. But yeah, here we are in where we will be coding Thrive. So nice. So if I open, I don't know, what should I open? Any file on the code base. I'm paralyzed with choice. Let's go with something from the Thrivepedia, since, as I said, that's something I've worked on a bit. So we're in Thrivepedia. I'm not going to install that extension. So go away. It will take a moment to actually load parts of it, and it should come up with an extra pop-up in a moment asking me to choose the solution file that it's using for the project. Okay, so as often happens with VS Code, some part of the configuration had not actually refreshed itself after I changed things, so I had to close it and reopen it again. So now I actually have this pop-up turn up, so I will choose, and then from this list here, it's thrive.solution that we want to be using. And this is because there are multiple solution files in this project. There's one for the scripts, which I've been using to run, I used to run the native fetch commands that you saw earlier. So now we just need to wait again for a moment, and once everything turns to colors like you see here, then you can be confident that, yeah, everything has loaded correctly. So yeah, hover over this, it shows the correct classes for these. So there we go. This is the Thrivepedia file, just very quickly. But what I'm actually going to do, I am going to add a button to the main game environment that will play a mystery sound. So yeah, I will show you how to do that, because it touches on a few different things that we would do as part of the Thrive development process. So the first part of that is go into the Godot editor. I'm going to close the main menu, and then go open scene. And then you need to find the scene file that you want to edit. In this case, yeah, because we are actually changing the UI and the visuals of the UI, we are going to have to make changes to the scene file. So look at the microbe HUD here. So this is the UI for the game, or at least the main environment of the game. And you can see it's got all the bits that can turn up. So what I want to be adding, I'm going to add a button somewhere here, and it's probably best, just for this demo, I'm going to add it to this bottom part over here. This is actually a separate scene file. So as you can see, it's selected the entire thing here, and over on the left here, it's got HUD bottom bar. If I select this button here to open the editor, you can see this is the new scene file. And then it's got all of the individual buttons that do various bits. So I will add a child node to the top here, and then search for button. I'm going to move this to the list. No, not inside that one. There we go, start of the list. Button. And then a few things we need to tweak once that's here. So you notice it's a different color to everything else. It doesn't look like the normal buttons. So that's because it's not got the right theme loaded. So with this button selected, if you go over to the right here, open theme, and then quick load, and there should just be the Thrive theme there. Select that. And then, yeah, it's got the right design now. And for the text, so you can type in text here, hello, or what have you. So I am going to put mystery sound in this style here. So the reason it's in this style, we'll come to this in a moment. So this is how we do things for translations. So this is the translation key that will be replaced with the translation value that depends on the particular locale that's installed on the system, or language rather. So you might have noticed, looking back here, there's various similar keys in the places over here. So we've got at cursor, nothing here, in similar styles, and those are replaced with the actual text that you would see if you're running it in a particular language. So yeah, that's this button added here for now. If it were to run the game, at the moment, it doesn't actually do anything. So what we need to do is, again, with this button selected, is go to the Node tab over here, and then connect the pressed signal to a method in the actual code. So I will call that method on mystery button So on mystery sound even, pressed. Let's press connect there. And because we created that connection between Godot and Visual Studio Code back when I changed the settings for Godot earlier, it's actually opened the relevant C# file, so that's quite helpful. What I'm going to do, I will scroll down to the bottom here and add a new method. So the method name has to match the name of the method we just typed in Godot. So it was on mystery. Is that wrong key? There we go. Sound pressed. So because we made the connection in Godot over here, it's connected from the pressed signal to this particular method. Every time we press this button, this method here is going to run. So that's quite simple. So for now, just to check that everything is working, I'm going to do gd.print testing. If I could type 1, 2, 3. There we are. So gd.print is the way to actually print things to the console. So console.writeLine is not going to go to the right place, I believe. So use gd.print whenever you actually want to print anything, say for debugging purposes. So if I run the game now, you will see. So there we are. With the game running, we can see if we go back to Godot. Where's Godot? Has Godot crashed? I think Godot might have crashed. Oh well, I'm going to have to run that again. But yeah, running Godot again, you can see that Thrive is now in the list of projects that are available. So yeah, sorry about that. Software development, it works, mostly. So just wait a second for it to refresh itself. Okay, there we go. Godot has loaded itself again. So I'm going to pick up where we left off and try and play the game, and see whether something has printed in the Godot console. Right, okay, Godot has remained open this time. So as we can see... Oh, well, yeah, we can't see it yet because I haven't actually pressed the button. I'm going to start a new game and then skip through the intro video. There we are, into the environment. I'm just going to turn off the tutorials. And then, yeah, we have this button here. Currently, there is no translation value set, so it's just using the key that we put in there. And if I press it a few times and then go back to the Godot editor, you'll see that log that we put in is now being written here. So yeah, that's a useful way to debug things. While I'm here, I am going to go to the sound options and just mute the music so that when we add this mysterious sound, we will actually be able to hear it. So yep, leave that. So yeah, we verified, if I go back to the file, we have verified that we can add a button that calls into a method in the C# file and that it prints this correctly. But we don't want it to print something to the console, we want it to play a sound. So what I'm going to do, the way that we play sounds is using GUI comment and then .instance, so that gets the instance of this singleton class. And then if I start typing play, you can see there are a couple of play options here. So there's play button press sound. That will play the just the usual, I guess, dink is the best way to describe it for pressing a button, but we don't want that. We want a different sound, want a custom one. So if I say play custom sound. Now this requires an argument that is the audio stream for the sound that we actually want it to play. So you can see I'm hovering over here to see what it requires. So we need to set up that audio stream. And now you may not know how to do this. One way to do that, one way to find out if you don't know, is just to search for other uses of this in the code base. So if I search for play custom sound, and I'm actually going to expand this and say we're only going to include C# files because we know it's going to be in a C# file. Otherwise, it's going to start, take ages searching through everything. And then we found a few instances in the code base of this being used. So here we are, and it's apparently stored in a variable, in this case, microbe pickup organelle sound. And if I go to the definition of that, we find out that it's actually being set using the export attribute here. So what this export attribute does is it kind of shifts the responsibility for setting this variable from the C# into the Godot side of things. So that will make a bit more sense once we add this and see it in the editor. So what I'm going to do for now, I will copy all of this, go back to this file, and then add it to the top here. You can see there's a few exports already here. What I'll do, I will change this name to Mystery Sound. Here we are. And I'm just going to, I'll put it in here for now. So we know once it's set, we will be able to play it this way by passing it in as the argument to this method. But in order to actually, so I guess, this is an important point to note. This export attribute, you cannot set the export, the variable that is exported until you have rebuilt the project with this export included. So the export is quite common. You'll see it's here for a load of node paths. So that's currently how we reference items in the UI. So these are all paths to buttons that are then, if I scroll down to where they're actually used. So we have the compounds button is the node that it gets using the reference of this, path to the node. So this system may be changing in the next release because apparently Godot 4 has a different way of doing that that may be a bit more efficient than having to set a load of exported node paths here. But for the moment, this is how these things are set. But in the case of this audio, it's probably going to stay the same way in future. So I'll leave it there for now. So as I said, in order for that to actually take effect, we need to rebuild the project. The easiest way to do that is to actually go into the Godot editor and just run it again. So there we are, the game's running. Oh my God. That is, wow, that's a graphical glitch for you. Hopefully you don't see that if you're running it on your machine. As I said, that is just an artifact of running it on this VM with severely compromised. Don't worry. It switched back to the actual static backgrounds because this VM, as I said, has severely compromised graphics capability. That was fun. All we needed to do here was actually run the game, so I will quit it again. And that should mean that this export should take effect. And therefore, if I go and reopen HUD bottom bar in the editor from here, so source, micro stage, HUD bottom bar, there we are. So if I select the root node for this, you'll notice there's this new field that's been added to script variables here. And what that means I can do is I can select this drop down, go to quick load, and then search. Aha, it's not right. Okay, I forgot to actually add the mystery sound to the assets for the game project. So I have it here on the desktop. I'm going to cut it from there. Go to Thrive, Assets, Sounds, Sound Effects. Paste it here. And then just wait a second. Hopefully you saw that box that said that Godot was importing it. So now that means if we go to load it again, there we are, it's there this time. So I can load that. So that's nice. If we were to run the game now, we would be able to press this button and it would play the sound, and that's nice. But one extra thing that I want to change is I want to actually run the localization script. So this will, I'll type it and then explain it as it's running. .NET Run project scripts localization. So this is going to look in all of the Godot scene files and anywhere in the code base that uses translation server.translate, and it will take the strings out of those, put them into the messages file, and then update all of the translation files with currently placeholder values for that particular translation key. So what does that actually mean? If I open the file messages.pot, so you'll notice along the side here, this has indications that it's been modified. So if I scroll down to the bit where it's actually added something with green, there we go. There's the key that we added for that button, mystery_sound, currently without a value in this file, because this is just like the definition file for all of the translation keys that should be used. But if I go to en.po, which is the English translation file, en for English, and then scroll down to the same place, we'll see that we actually have to set the value for this key here. So I'll remove the fuzzy tag. That means that it's trying to guess a value, which in this case is way off. So I'll replace it with mystery sound. And so that's the text that will actually appear on the button. So, yeah, we're basically ready to run the game. One thing I forgot to do is actually check out a branch. If you were doing this for real, then yeah, you should check out run git checkout -b and then branch name. So do that before you actually start making any changes, and then the changes you can add as commits to the branch, and then eventually push the branch, create pull request, and yeah, hopefully that pull request will be merged if your new feature is cool and well coded. But yeah, I'm not going to do that now just because this is a demo. So yeah, instead, everything should be ready. We should be able to go into the game, see this button, press the button, and that button should play the sound that you've all been waiting to hear. So if I press play to open the game again, right, we're in the game, go new game, start game, and then I'll press escape to skip the opening cutscene. Yeah, I don't care about tutorials. So there's our button. It's now got the correct translation value in there. So everything has replaced the translation key with the translation value. And I can now press this, and we can all hear the sound that probably some of you have guessed. But here we go.
But wait! What if they could use the hydrothermal vents to smeltle the meltle?
And there we are. Perfection. Don't actually create a PR that adds this button. It will be rejected for certain. Maybe if you hide it in a submenu somewhere, maybe. But yeah, that was just a demonstration of how to add a simple button that does something, and kind of showing both the Godot side of things and the C# side of things, as well as the translations. But yeah, that's all I'm going to show you for now. So I hope this was helpful. As I said, if there are any gaps or you run into any issues, see the troubleshooting guide in the setup instructions linked in the description. If you still have issues that you run into, then just come to the team, ask questions. Then developers will be happy to help. And yeah, I'm going to end it here. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.